Mark, who are we powered by? I forgot that.
Sam's Chicken and Lion Beer.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone, especially Mr. Ben Foakes, possibly cricket's most fetishised man or woman. Men want to be him, Joss Butler. Women want to be with him, my girlfriend. And what a test he's having with the gloves and bat. Joining me, Tommy Stewart, on today's Murali is Mark Machado, James Slip Sarek, and Sam, the Heartbreak Kid housemate Hartford. Lads, maybe Jack Leach isn't the answer to England's opening batting issues after all, because, for me, after Rory Burns' performance and Jack Leach's famous one, I thought he was the next in line to open the batting for England. Thoughts on today?
To me, I thought the day belonged to one man, Ravichandran Ashwin. I really enjoy when any number 8 pops up this century. It's reasonably common, isn't it? It happens more than you realise, doesn't it? Somebody, I think it was you, Tommy, might have tweeted, it's great to see two all-rounders in Ashwin and Root really kind of like dragging this test series through. I think there's something in that. I think it's that Indian tail bats really well, doesn't it? I mean, even Siraj was like, comes in at 11 but plays shots, and he reminds me, there's an element of Siraj it reminds me of, do you remember Edge and Christian, like when they were a tag team, when they'd come into the ring, they'd do this thing where was it 3 seconds of, like, they'd pose for 3 seconds to get a photo of him. Well, he does that with his bat, doesn't he? He like takes it, like he plays a great shot and then he just stands there posing for a moment. It's obviously like it's in the way he bats. I mean, I'm not saying he poses, but
he definitely does. He definitely poses. I love it.
But they were like batting with freedom, weren't they? Like they had complete license to go out. How many runs were they ahead when Siraj came in? 420 odd, something like that. They were having so much fun, which is actually quite nice to watch, especially like watching Siraj's reaction to Ashwin's century, like a gleeful. What did you put, Tommy?
It's like he's, well, the feeling I got is like, when your babysitter says you can stay up late, and we're getting the Dominoes in. We're not having mum's like healthy, like, I don't know, lasagna or whatever, like rubbish cold lasagna that she left behind, because I don't think that celebration was, I mean, it was partly for Ashwin, but as we often mention, cricket's a game of selfishness, and it's a team sport. It's an individual sport masquerading as a team sport. And I think he just thought, right, I can let loose now. I can, like, now he's got his century, I can do whatever the fuck I want and play.
Yeah, I mean,
play whatever shots I want. I'm sure there was joy for Ashwin. And as one of the great cricket, Ian Higgins tweeted saying, after Ashwin's century and everyone looking chuffed, like in all caps, but do his teammates like him though?
Clear they do. Sorry, go on, Mark. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think Ashwin always comes across as one of the most thoughtful and interesting cricketers. I know we talked about this before, but cricket, broadly speaking, isn't filled with a lot of people that I think, actually, do you know what? From the way he plays, I'm sure there is a lot of good blokes in it, but from the way he conducts himself on and off the field, you know that Ashwin is a good bloke. And that's why I think Tim Payne's comments, which we're still talking about, 6 weeks after they happened, were so ill-judged, weren't they?
And he clearly loves his cricket. I remember, in terms of the actual matches as well, like I think when I read something on Twitter about when they reviewed Stokes's wicket, and he said this is how he got out in Murali 4 years ago, and he's got this amazing recall for 5 years ago. Sorry, amazing recall for how players get out and how to play them and so on. Which I can't imagine every cricketer doing that. I can't imagine, I don't know. I was going to say something like Cummings and Hazelwood, but maybe Mitchell Stark would. I don't know, but I can't imagine they would do it.
I think Cummings is probably a thinker of the game. Well, I won't reveal this. Our special guest, which will be coming this Thursday, but an Australian guest who has sort of alluded to the fact that Cummings, it might be like, the slight underdog, but like a strong contender for the Australian captaincy, because he's a well-liked bloke like Ashwin, and he's a thinker of the game like Ashwin. Which shows it's just, I think it's mainly an England and Australian mentality of and again, this Thursday, listen out for it. We did go into discussion about the English and Australian mentality of only batsmen being able to be captain. But, it's bollocks. Like, bowlers are obviously thinkers of the game. I think bowlers are maybe the thing that lets bowlers down. I think they're more emotional. I think they're more erratic, and they're more emotional and sensitive people. Like, batters have to be robots, don't they?
Do you think that the type of bowler, like if we're talking about captaincy here, the type of bowler is important, whether it's a seamer or a spinner? Do you think that makes a difference?
Yeah, well, Shane Warne is notoriously called the greatest Australia captain they never had, because when he captained in BBL and Sheffield Shield, and his win ratio and the stuff he won, just not just that, the fields he set, and there's that famous clip where he's on the mic and he's saying, "This is how I'm going to get him out."
He got him out.
Yeah, and he got him out.
I think as a spinner as well, in terms of deploying yourself, it's probably an easier job, because especially if you're just playing one spinner. But if you're captain, you have to rotate the seamers regularly, and you're part of that. Say if you're a captain for England, then I think that makes that burden of you having kind of skin in the game and an emotional attachment to your rotation of bowlers a little bit deeper, maybe, than if you just had one spinner conducting.
And I should say, because I mentioned it in the intro, so I don't want to be... I feel like we're getting more and more professional as we do this. I don't want to forget something we mentioned in the intro, like we did on probably our first 10 episodes. Ben Foakes. Let's not just talk about his cricketing ability. Has he got the best salad, the best rig in the English cricket team?
I said to you yesterday, didn't I?
Is he the best looking man? Sorry, go on.
I love seeing the long-sleeved player with the long-sleeve shirt, and I feel like it attributes more to a wicket-keeper than anyone else, and he pulls it off beautifully. It's kind of like Becks and Giggs in the 90s, long-sleeve wingers.
Yes.
I just love seeing a keeper in a long sleeve, and it just kind of coincides with everything else that's aesthetically beautiful.
That makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
In terms of his rig and salad, as you put it, you'd be going by standardized beauty there. I mean, Rahkeem Cornwall's my would be the model I'd go for. I mean, he's and he took.
I absolutely agree. I think he's the high watermark of good-looking cricketers.
And he took 8 wickets in the match against Bangladesh. So
let's talk. We should talk about that picture that has been every cricket account worth their salt has made some sort of meme about it, or some misfiring, like just calling him, big lad or whatever, and which that was a thing. I don't want to slag off our contemporaries too much, but TMS really had fun with that in the summer, which was just kind of made me feel a bit yuck. Like they really like. Agger's really got a lot of laughs out of Rahkeem Cornwall.
For a press bot that spends most of its time eating cake as well, it's
This is the thing. Like, he's a genuinely good. He's a bit of an all-rounder, to be honest. Like, you watch him in a T20, like he just stands there and smashes it because he's got the core strength there already. He doesn't have to put anything behind it to lift it over the fence. To be honest. Like his place is deserved, and all they can phone in on is how big he is.
Yeah.
I know. Me and James are a bit biased because we're paid up members of the front row union. But if he was a rugby player, no one would debate, or there'd be no question about over his size. Also, the fact he consistently plays like cricket at a high level, that any of us are ever going to get to, means that he is fit enough to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm sure, I don't really. I'm not one of those people who really cares what his bleep test score is, as long as if he keeps getting wickets, he keeps
exactly. And
if he can knock it ball about a bit,
that's the beauty of cricket and rugby, though. You can still see people you can relate to, and people who are real and unpolished and unglamorized. And obviously, I get it. I do get it with him. He is not just as a sports person, as a human being, he is astonishing. If you saw him, you would look twice because he's amazing. He's massive. He's massive, but he's one of the best slip catchers in the world as well. Let's not forget. And I should say, the picture we mentioned is a picture of which, if you scroll down on at Murali End on our Twitter and on our Instagram, actually, it's a picture of Cornwall with So I'm not sure. Does anyone know the players? Anyway, there's two other players who are probably about 6 foot 5'11" themselves, and they look like hobbits jumping on Gandalf.
Like kids, don't they? That they're annoying their older brother.
Yeah, and it's just pure joy. It's like that's the competition over for Wisden cricket, photo of the year.
Just thinking about that, like when you're saying, Foakes is kind of best pair, best abs. I guess Foakes is he's the typical what people would aspire to. In terms of perfection as an athlete, and then Cornwall is what is the reality. This is what people actually look like, and this is what your sports players on a weekend, rugby, football, cricket, whatever sport. To be quite honest, this is who they actually are, and actually is a pretty good role model for people who do. I struggle with body confidence, to be honest, and seeing people like Cornwall playing at a high level. Playing West Indies and taking huge wickets and so on actually provides me with a little bit of belief and confidence in terms of wanting to go out exercising and keep playing sport and so on. I think it's really important to see players like this playing and not to be, like you say, castigated for it.
And that is the clip today. I'm definitely. I'm trying not. Generally, I haven't got the. Well, I do have the time today, so I think that was brilliant, James. I love what you said just there, and you're totally spot on. And we can't all be 6'2" with a strong jawline, Australian quick ball.
Can't all be an Adonis,
Could I just add as well, because I know you two have never actually met James IRL, but James is a very good looking man. I mean, I'm very happy in the body I'm in, but if I had to choose another one, then James would be right.
You've got a bit of. What do I think? You know what you look like? A love child of Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Yes.
And they would love a love child. And also, Seth Rogen, I've discovered from I've got a girlfriend now. I keep talking about, I've got a girlfriend. But from my
it's not real.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a special episode of the Murali End where we're just going to talk to Tommy about his girlfriend. No one's going to be on it. It's just going to be 20 minutes of him telling us everything about it. Then that's it. We'll draw a line under the whole situation.
We call it.
We're not allowed to talk about it ever again. Is that right?
Call that episode the Murali Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Next guest.
But what I was going to say, just from chatting to people on Hinge and Instagram or whatever, and my girlfriend, people really people really fancy Seth Rogen as well. Actually, I don't know. Anyway, you're a love child of them. Before we go, I just want to go around you all and ask, simple question? What is the best England can hope for now? What would be a boat? Because the match is probably over. We're talking on the third day of in New England of the second test. What's the best they can hope for now? Obviously, we've seen some sparks. Not just sparks. Ben Foakes is, for me, he looks like the best wicketkeeper in the world by a country mile. And even Adam Gilchrist, the great one, possibly the greatest of all time, is tweeting about how brilliant he is. He just doesn't let any extras go, does he? He's and also another thing, he looks amazing. Those black gloves, love the black gloves.
Yes,
amazing.
So, other than Ben Foakes, what else could we hope for? What's the best we can hope for?
Well, do you want to go first, Mark?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Liverpool Football Club. I'm also a fan of Sri Lankan cricket, obviously. I believe in miracles, and I believe that Joe Root can bat out the whole next 6 sessions.
Oh
no! I look. I think that.
Who's in now? Sorry, as we speak, as we go to Lawrence.
Lawrence,
yeah. I think there's this actually is the slight problem with it. I kind of want to say put the pitch issue to a side, because India have proved that you can bat on this pitch, right? And I know obviously the Indian spinners are better at bowling on this surface, right? But actually, I think the kind of slightly wider issue is that the problem is England don't really know their best 11, and actually when you're going into a test series with India, there's an argument that you should know who your best 11 in these conditions are, or at least your best kind of 12 or 13, where actually there's two, for me, I think there's too many question marks over who's the openers, who bats where, who the bowling attack is. And while it's this lovely utopian ideal that there's like 16 kind of, is there 16 around 16 players who could be in that 11? Actually, I think it's games like this where you're like, right, this game has totally got away from you basically within the first kind of 5 sessions. Like where do we go from here? And actually, if I was an England player, I think the only way to, or if I was the manager and managing this side, I'd be like, the only way to get a result from this and to get anything from this is to tell the boys, right, just go out and show me why you need to be in the next, why you need to be starting the next test.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'd like to see maybe runs on the board against Lawrence's name and Moeen's name, because the inevitable inquest and self-deprecation that's going to follow this test is going to be hinged around, after the pitch and whatnot, on selection. But I guess to your point, Mark, if those players make runs, then it kind of makes things a bit more difficult, because it buys into that idea that everybody's performing at a relative level. So that idea of rotation gets reinforced. But I think it will be nice to see those boys get runs on the board, just so, like I say, that inquest isn't so kind of critical and deep and honing in on individual performances.
James?
Yeah, I think it was encouraging to see. I know Burns did lose some wicket. He was starting to go after it though, which was actually encouraging to see. Like a 4 off the first ball of the innings is always nice, and the same with Lawrence, like lifting it over leg side. I think was nice to see. It's a foregone conclusion. India are going to win this, and that's.
I just have 2 thoughts on this. Bairstow for me, and I'll get shit for this, but he's in England's best 11 anyway, not just in talent wise and winning mentality wise. Great everything. I'd stick him in. I'd just fit him in wherever you can. And I've said it all along, and it's, to be fair, these are probably biased opinions, because my dad, like being slightly mates with Johnny's dad at school and working with Jimmy Anderson, but I think a lot of people would agree with me on this one. Don't drop Jimmy Anderson ever. Like I can't remember who said it. I am stealing this opinion. It might even be Michael Vaughan, #on, but someone said, he's Ashwin is the difference for them. Jimmy is for us. Like, I'm not saying we would have won, but people blaming the pitch and that, which is boring, load of bollocks. We do green pitches when they're over here. That's just something you got to deal with. Like, and if a spinner, he is more of a bowler, isn't he, Ashwin, than a batsman? If he can hit a century, then Joe Root can hit a fucking century on these conditions. So, yeah. Bring back Bairstow when possible, and just don't ever. If Jimmy's fit, I think he says himself he's fitter than ever. So
you say never.
Just play him. He could be a match winner. Sorry.
He's saying never drop Jimmy at all,
unless he's unfit. No, yeah, just don't. Yeah, he's the best bowler of all time, possibly.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, no, I'd gathered. But I guess there's the thought of maybe is there such a thing as overplaying someone like Jimmy? I mean, he is a fast.
I think there's a slightly bigger question to ask you, and it's like, when Premier League teams rotate their squads, that's because players have fatigue, because the big football sides, the top 6, play every 3 or 4 days, right? But coming to the back end of the season, when you get to your finals or your semi-finals, or you into your run-in, every manager knows who his best starting 11 is. All right, he might have actually kind of 12 or 13 players and go, actually, against this side, you want a slightly more defensive central midfielder. Do you know what I mean? And I get that argument in cricket as well. I think the problem is actually England versus India, in India or in England, is, in my mind, as somebody who doesn't support the England cricket team, isn't my first side, right? It's actually the biggest test series in the world, right? It's
more best teams.
Yeah, it's the 2 best teams at the moment. It's the 2 biggest cricket.
Sorry, New Zealand. But yeah, it's true.
Yeah, right. And actually, for me, I think the problem is England are too obsessed by playing Australia, and it's all about, for them, it's trying to get to, right, in Perth in November. Do we know who our best 11 are going to be? And actually, forget that. Win this series in India, and then beat them over here. and go into that series in Australia, knowing who your best 12 or 13 players are. You don't need to have 15 or 16 test players.
I think the logic falls down a bit as well, whereby if you say, I'll take Jimmy out for this test and then he's fresh for the third. Well, if by taking him out in this test, you get absolutely pummeled and India going into that third test full of momentum, then you've done yourself a disservice.
Exactly. Win what's in front of you. And one more thing on this, like you say, the football analogy is perfect, Mark. Man United don't drop Bruno Fernandes at all. They never drop Bruno Fernandes because he's our best player. Jimmy Anderson is our best bowler. The best, McGrath, Dale Steyn, whoever, they'll tweet about it, say he is the best. He's the best of all time at seam swing bowling. So, and he's playing better than ever. Just don't. If a top football manager was managing England, they would have played Jimmy for the first 3 tests, won the series, and then dropped him for the 4th. Exactly.
And blooded young players into that.
That's what Klopp or Mourinho or Pep would do, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think perhaps England made one, just to put to Ares want to finish off there, do you think England made one change too many, maybe? Was that the...
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. Yeah, I think so.
We kept Anderson in for Stone, maybe in hindsight Broad, but of course you'd want Broad in your attack in hypothetically, really.
Yeah.
It is easy with hindsight, isn't it? But
well, it is. But I am recorded as saying all along, don't drop Jimmy.
That's on the tape.
Right. Thanks for joining us for it's day 3 of Murali Daily. So we have got a few things coming up. So we've got probably one more of these, haven't we? Hopefully 2, if Mark's right. Joe Root can bat it out. At Murali End on Twitter. # Uncle Johnson. And # on, let's appropriate and steal that.
Let's make it positive.
Yeah, let's make on a good thing. Sorry, Michael Vaughan, we love you. Come on the podcast, please. We've got, so one more of these. Not quite sure what the panel is. And a big episode on Thursday. We're also recording another big one Wednesday. So we've got some really, really, really exciting guests coming up. So, stick with the Murali and thanks for boosting us Twitter followers. One more thing, also got a really good competition coming up. I don't know if anything's better than free beer, but as someone who's off the drink at the moment, this is better than free beer for me. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Just before we go, there is 2 competitions running on the Murali End at the moment as well on the Twitter. There's free beer and free chicken.